What's the difference between a lump sum pension and an income pension? And which should you choose? Hi, I'm Doug Ray, President and founder of the Wealth Guardians and the Ray Financial Group.
And I'm Brice Payne, and you've entered The Vault, the Wealth Guardians video series on all things pertaining to retirement planning. In this episode, we're going to cover what pension option might be best for you. We're going to talk about lump sum pensions versus income pensions, single income versus survivor options, and state and federal pensions versus private pensions and the pros and cons to each of those. Like always, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons there beneath the video screen if you're so inclined to catch more episodes of The Vault with Doug and myself. All right, Doug, let's go ahead and get to it. Pensions is one of the three legs of the retirement income stool. You got 401ks or retirement income, you got pensions, and you got Social Security.
Yeah, if you're lucky to have a pension, that is part of the three-legged stool.
And oftentimes now it's becoming a two-legged stool.
Exactly.
So like Social Security, whatever options you opt for in your pension, they can't be undone. So you want to make sure that you're sitting down with a financial planner and going over all the details of your retirement income and expense needs to make sure that you're making the best decision, because like I said, it oftentimes can't be undone. To be clear, Doug and I are not giving advice on this episode. We are just talking to you about the things that you should consider with your financial planner when making a decision on what type of options to choose for your pension. All right, Doug, let's go ahead and talk about our first topic here. Lump sum pensions versus income pensions. Not everybody has a choice. Some pensions are just one or the other, but I would say a majority of them do give you that option. And again, once you make that decision, you can't undo it. So let's talk about the pros and cons to both here.
Yeah, private companies typically give you an option. And when most people think of a pension, they think of an income in retirement that that's going to be with them till death.
Right.
And since there's two of them, lump sum and an income pension, they are completely the opposite. A income pension is exactly that. It is you select that income and that's your income for the rest of your life. But a lump sum pension is the ability to take the value of your pension and roll it over to an IRA, which gives you the opportunity to invest that pension in anything you want to.
And because it's rolled over to an IRA, taking the lump sum is not adding to your earned income for that
That's
year.
correct.
It's a non-taxable event, and then you would have to pay taxes on 100% of what you take out only at the time of taking a distribution. So it's kind of like a 401k in that sense, rolling it over to an IRA.
Correct.
But when you've got the numbers, I'm going to throw something up on the screen here for you. Let's say that your lump sum option is $100,000, but your income option would be $4,500. I'm just using round numbers here. Sometimes that $4,500 would be higher or lower. What you want to do is figure out what the annual income is off of that $100,000. So if $100,000 is your lump sum option or your income option is $4,500, well, that would equal 4.5% annual income off of that $100,000 pension that you would have available to you. Another way to look at that is $375 a month. Okay, we factored in that, but let's take a look. What if you took that $100,000 as a lump sum and invested that and reasonably got a, say, 5% average annual return? Well, that's $5,000 a month or a year, or $416 a month. That's 5%. So in this case, in that example that Doug and I gave you, it might make more sense for you to take the $100,000 as a lump sum, invest it, and have the income generated that way. But again, we're not giving advice here. That's just one thing to consider. If you do the math and it turns out that your income off of the $100,000 would be, say, $6,000 guaranteed a year, well, then that's more like 6%. So you have to compare the two.
And you're going to have to dig a little bit deeper considering an income pension, because there's several ways to take it.
Yes.
You could take it as a single pay, meaning it's only going to pay to your passing, or there's other options. You could give some of that pension to a spouse. Maybe it's 100% to the beneficiary, 75, 50%, something like that. And each one of those, you get less income than if it was a single pay to you. The other thing to consider here is if you take that income pension, it has no cost of living adjustments, unlike Social Security.
If it's a private pension.
If it's a private pension. So maybe going with the lump sum rollover where you can control the gains and offset inflation over time might be a better choice. Again, we're not advising here. We're just showing you what your options can be.
And the things that you and your financial planner would want to consider.
Right.
If you already have a large Social Security benefit between you and your spouse, and that's already taking care of more than 100% of what your expense needs are in retirement, then maybe you just take the lump sum option and know that you've got enough income from Social Security. That way, if you ever have a one-time purchase need, like buying an RV or buying a second home or something, you've got that lump sum ready to be at your disposal. Whereas if you took the income from it and at some point you wanted to make a large purchase of, again, that second home, beach house or something, and you don't have the reserves in an IRA or 401k, then you might have wished that you had taken the lump sum. One thing to consider. Now, Doug, two other things that one would want to consider when deciding whether or not to have income just for themselves or a spousal income added on top of it. Yes, you're going to get a lower benefit, but again, what are the Social Security benefits that you have? Who's got the larger one? Remember, whoever passes first, the survivor has the option of getting the larger of the two Social Securities. You want to compare that with what other kind of expense needs you're going to have in retirement. Is that one Social Security going to be enough for your spouse should you pass away first? Again, your financial planner is going to help you figure that out.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts here to deciding which option you want to take in your pension.
All right, let's go into just a moment, Doug, with a couple of pros and cons on whether or not it would be a state or federal pension that you're considering or a private pension. State and federal pensions have what are called cost of living adjustments, particularly the federal pensions. Those are based off of calculations on what inflation is. So if you have a state or a federal pension and it's, say, $1,000 a month now, well, every year they adjust that upwards, presumably if there is any inflation. So that $1,000 is going to grow to eventually $1,100, $1,200. Not huge increments,
right,
but small ones. But private pensions, Doug, don't have that.
Private pensions don't have that cost of living adjustments, and private pensions, as we just described, you have decisions to make. Unlike a federal or state pension, you don't have to make all these decisions because they don't have a lump sum rollout provision.
In a lot of those, correct, right. But there is one drastic con to a private pension. And that is the risk that the company that is offering you that pension or providing you that pension might go bankrupt at some point in the future.
It's exactly right. All you have to do is look at a lot of companies here in this area, the airline industry in particular. You had pilots that had been promised $200,000 a year pensions. Well, when they went bankrupt during the Great Recession, the government took over those pensions, and those pensions were cut in half or even more so. So that could happen in a private pension if your company goes into hard times.
Doesn't really happen with federal or state pensions.
Oh, no.
Those are going to be safe. But a private pension, so if you're doing the calculations thinking, well, I want this income that my old company is providing me, realize that there is a certain risk that that pension might not always be there despite the promises that or the assurances that they're telling you.
Exactly.
All right, Doug, I think that more or less covers it. Was there anything we left out?
I think we got it all.
Okay, very good. Well, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget again to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below here if you want to catch more episodes of The Vault with Doug Garrett and myself. This is Brice Payne.
And I'm Doug Ray.
And this has been The Vault.